Hey there, my name is Irene, for those of you who don't know me, and I thought while I was kind of waiting out this strange virus that's taken us over, I thought I would give a little bit of a beginner's guitar course. So this is for absolute beginners, people who've never been near a guitar before, or maybe you did it a long time ago, but you forget how to do it. This is aimed at you. The first thing you're going to need, obviously, is a guitar. Hopefully you'll have one hanging around your house, or somebody you know has one you can borrow. I wouldn't recommend going out and renting one these days. Not sure you could anyway. But that's a good thing to do once this is all over with, if you're doing it then, is to rent a guitar. The reason I say that is just because there's no point in going to the expense of a guitar if you're not sure how you're going to feel about it. It's going to take a little while to get a sense of, whether or not it's something you want to continue doing. So lots of stores have guitar rentals, so that's what I recommend. The second thing is you need to have it in tune. So I suggest, if you have a smartphone, which most of us do these days, to get something called Guitar Tuna, which is tuna as in the fish, Tuna. There are others out there as well. That's the one that seems to be more popular, and it gives you a basic guitar tuning thing, so you can learn to do that. But I'll explain briefly how it works. Each one of these strings here is attached to what's called a tuning peg. This is the one for the top one, and then this is the one for the bottom, and each one has its own string. So what you're going to be doing is tightening or loosening that string depending on what the app tells you. It's either too sharp, too high, or it's too low. So I'll give you an example. If I play this string and I twist it like that, it goes higher. There we go, got it back in here. So it's good for you to get familiar with tuning, get that app, or you can go online. There are websites that have tuners as well. They are more based on your having to hear it, though, which is a little more difficult in the beginning. So something that can hear your guitar, such as your phone, that app on your phone can, is a little better in the beginning. Okay, the next thing you want to do is, I've got on my website, the link will be posted here below, are 2 sheets that you'll want to print out for the next 2 lessons. The first one looks like this. It is basically just a blank chord chart sheet. So you can write down the chords you learn as you're learning them, and I will go more into that at the end of this lesson. The other one is called Skip to My Lou, our first hit song. So you might want to print that out if you can print it out. If not, you'll have to follow along on the screen, which might be a little more awkward, but okay, so you'll need to print those 2 things out, or at least have access to them, have them on your computer. And then I'm going to introduce the guitar. So essentially, the guitar is set up a little bit like a human body. It's got a head or headstock, and a neck, and a body. And of course it has frets. These are the frets, and strings. So this is a 6-string guitar, a steel string guitar. There's nylon string as well of acoustic guitars, and of course there's electric guitars. You can play on any of those at this point. So we count the strings from the bottom. So this is the 1st string, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So when I'm explaining to you how to play a chord, I'll number the finger. This is your 1st finger, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. In piano, this is your 1st finger, so don't get that confused. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to say, okay, put your 1st finger on the 3rd string from the bottom, in the 2nd fret, like that. So when you're putting it on there, you want to try to get up on the tip of your finger as much as you can, so you're not touching anything else. You might need to trim your nails. 2nd finger is going to go on the bottom string in the same fret, so there's a string in between them now. And then your 3rd finger, your ring finger, is going to go on the 2nd string in the 3rd fret. Now, if any time you need to stop the video and listen to the instructions again, please do so. You don't have to go this fast. You can stop and figure it out yourself. But this is called a D chord. Your thumb, by the way, is just kind of flat on the back of the neck, and there's a squeezing thing happening between the thumb and the fingers. You don't want to hold it up like this too much, just down like that. Okay, now that you've got your D, you can probably feel it a little bit on your fingers. Over time, if you work on it a little bit every day, it'll take you about 2 or 3 weeks, and you'll start to get calluses on the tips of those fingers. That's a good thing. Okay, so assuming we're all at a D now, stop if you need to fix it. We're going to strum it. So when we strum, we're going to use our thumb and our 1st finger, the pad of our 1st finger. We're going to strum down with the thumb and then up just with the pad of your 1st finger. Okay, so when we strum a D, we try not to strum these top 2 fat strings here. I know that's a little hard to avoid in the beginning, and that's okay. You'll get used to that over time. So we're going to strum down with the thumb. Basically, we're on 4 strings, and up with the 1st finger, like this. So you can try that out. Now the strings might sound a little buzzy or dead. You know, you can figure out, oh, can I get a little better positioning here? By the way, your finger should be as close to this part of the fret bar as you can manage. Not down here, but up here. Okay? So it's a little hard to get this finger for a lot of people to stretch that far. But as you do this, as you get used to it, the fingers will find their way a little better each time. Okay, so we're going to start again, just strumming. Go about this speed. That's what a D sounds like. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to count to 4. And in music, if you haven't got any experience in playing an instrument before or anything to do with music, we count to 4 a lot. It's called common time, 4/4 time. I'm going to count to 4, and then we're going to strum together. So the idea of me counting just gives you a sense of how fast we're going, which will be about that fast. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you start 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's stop for a second. If you're feeling it in your fingers, you kind of shake it out a little bit if you need to. Like I said, over time, your fingers will get stronger and you'll develop those calluses and it won't be quite as painful. Okay, now everything in guitar isn't just playing chords, it's switching between chords or transitioning. So we're going to learn another chord, and then we're only going to do the 2 chords this time so that we can learn how to transition between them. So the next chord we're going to learn is an A. So with an A, your 1st finger is now going to be on the 4th string, 2nd fret, the same fret. The 2nd finger is going to be right underneath that, so they're both in the same fret, and the 3rd finger right underneath that. So they each have their own string, and they're all in the 2nd fret. The bottom string doesn't have any fingers on it, so it's the next 3 up, like that. So that is an A. Now some guys especially, or people just with big hands, have trouble fitting all those fingers, and you might feel you're having trouble fitting all those fingers in just like that. So I'm going to show you another way to play A, and that is this 1st finger is going to be on the same string, same fret as it did with the D, but then the 2nd finger is going to go on top of that on the string above, and the third finger is going to go underneath that on the string below. I'm just showing this to those of you who might have trouble with the other A shape. So try it both ways, see what you think. Sometimes you might find you'll be okay with this one, but others might find this one's just a little easier to get everything to fit in there. Okay, so let's go back to I'm going to play everything in the first shape of A. Okay, so when we play A, we're not going to strum this top 5th or 6th string. We're just going to go from the 5th string down. So we're only avoiding the top string. So down with the thumb and up with your finger, like that. Down and up. So try that out. See how it goes. You might find you have to squeeze really hard, get it to work. Okay. So I would suggest you try both of those out. Just strum them a few times, stop the recording and just go back to the D and then find the A. What we're going to do next is to learn to transition between them or move between them. A lot of people, when they're teaching themselves to play, they'll play the chord, strum, and then they'll stop and change chords and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, that's because it's hard to focus on both things going at the same time. But if you learn to keep this arm in motion while you're trying to switch chords, that will help you a lot. And eventually this hand will catch up. So trust me, it's worth learning to keep this hand moving when you're switching. Before we do that though, let's just think about how we get from D to A. There's a little trick. It works for some people, doesn't work for everyone, so don't do it if it messes you up. But if you'll notice, this third finger, the ring finger, is actually on the same string in both chords. But with D, it's here, and with A, it's here. So you can kind of use that as a little guide to find your way from D to A. So what you have to do is take your first and second finger off, and I know it doesn't sound hard, but sometimes it is. Take those two fingers off, but leave your third finger on, and then slide it down to the 2nd fret, and then stick the 2nd finger on top of that, and the 1st finger on top of that. Did you get that? We'll do it again. So we'll go back to D. I know it'll take a minute, so stop the tape if you need to. Tape, it's not tape. Okay, so we're at D. We're going to take the 1st finger off, the 2nd finger off, and slide that 3rd finger down 1 fret, and then pile the other 2 on top. Okay, so that's actually a good thing to do just by itself, just to teach your fingers where they're going. They actually develop muscle memory over time, and this is a good way to help them to learn the shapes, D and A. So just sit and do that. Move back and forth between those 2 chords. That's a great thing to do. But now we're going to introduce the strumming. Okay, so what I'm going to do is count to 4. We're going to start with D. We're just going to move from D to A at this point. I'm going to count to 4, and then we're going to strum 8 times. So I'm going to count to 8 when we're strumming, just because it's easier for you to figure out from there. I'm going to count to 4, then we're going to strum 8 times, and then we're going to switch to A. And as I said before, as much as you can, keep this hand strumming. It's a little tricky at first, because what's actually happening is your brain is focusing on 2 things, trying to focus on 2 things at the same time. So it's going back and forth, it can really mess you up. Eventually, the strumming part especially becomes a little more automatic, so you don't have to think about it as much. That's why we're keeping it simple by just doing the down, up, down, up. Okay, so we're starting with D. Make sure you've got your D. And we're going to strum 8 times, and then we're going to switch to A. Okay, we'll try it a couple of times, so don't worry if you don't get it the first few times. Okay, I'm counting to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. And now try switching to A. Yes, you're all muddled up now, aren't you? That's okay. It'll get better. 7, 8. Okay, that was our first try. Let's go back to D. We're going to strum D 8 times, and then we're going to switch to A again. So stop the recording if you need to find D. D is a little bit of a harder shape to remember than A, because A is everything's lined up, but D sort of has a different shape. Okay, here we go again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now strum, keep strumming. Switch to A. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, you might have gotten a little better, you might have got a little worse, might be the same. Got to keep doing this. The whole idea is you got to repeat, 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 repetition, right? Okay, so let's go back to D. Take your time. Find your D. I'm going to start counting to 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Keep strumming. Switch to A. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did you make it by 8? You might have. You might not have. That's okay. Okay, we're going to try it one last time. And again, like I said before, you could stop the recording and go back and play with me. Or you can just sit and try it on your own a few times. So let's find our way back to D. And we're going to do it one last time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Keep strumming. 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So once you've done D to A a few times, try doing A back to D. Now that's a little trickier, again, because the shape of the D is a little harder for your fingers to remember. But over time, with lots of repetition, your fingers are going to start to remember those shapes, and then you can go back and forth more easily. So the next time we get together, we're going to actually play a song using those 2 chords. But what I want to do now is just to describe this chord sheet here to you. I have written down the chords, and hopefully you could do that as well. If you haven't got this printed out, you can just write it on a piece of paper. Essentially, the top part is the nut of the guitar, which is the white part of the guitar, and then the first 3 strings, first 3 frets and the 6 strings. So if you see the way I wrote D down here, that's the top fat string, that's the 5th string, the 4th string, and then I've got 1, that's where your first finger is, 2 in the 3rd fret, that's where your 2nd finger is. 2 is on the bottom, 3 is on the 2nd fret, 2nd string, 3rd fret. You know what I mean. Now the other thing is I've got 2 X's up here. That's because I'm marking down whatever strings we don't strum when we're strumming D. And here is A, you can see them all lined up together, and the X over the top 6th string, right? So that's the way to write them down. Just to keep track of the chords that you learn and to have a reference in case you need to go and look it up. So the next time we get together, we will try switching back and forth again a little bit, and then we will start working on Skip to My Lou. So if you have any questions, email me, send me a note here on YouTube, and I will do my best to answer, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.